Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law, and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah, though I'm not considered a believer by some. I still believe in the warmth of heaven come. I need the rapture I feel when my feet touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come. And when I reach that valley, I need to see you there, because we don't need a kingdom, we only need free air. We don't seek a king, we seek the brotherhood of man, and we won't fight for bondage, as we need no king or woman. We will stand undivided, because we will raise the fallen. Now I need to hear a hallelujah as we tear down the wall there. The divide between heaven and earth, as tears turn to mirth, as we walk through the valley of death, and I draw my last breath. I know rapture I feel when I touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I've reached the hollow where my ancestors roam. Standing.
All right. Good evening, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Hillbilly Think Tank with me, Spencer Keck, and I am the educated hillbilly. No, that's not an oxymoron. There have been educated hillbillies in Kentucky ever since my family came through the Cumberland Gap with Daniel Boone. Y'all, I spent a very good part of my life keeping people alive. Independent duty corpsman, United States Navy, Fleet Marine Force, qualified, surface warfare, qualified, First Gulf War, Operation Enduring Freedom. When a Marine went down, nobody asked me what party he voted for. I didn't check his bank account before I treated him. You were a human being in front of me who needed help, and that was the whole of it. I'm telling you that because it's the same reason that I'm running for magistrate in District 3. And it's the same reason I want to talk to you today about something bigger than a road or a culvert. I want to talk about a machine that's been taught that some people matter more than others. And I've spent my whole entire life believing the exact opposite. Coin operated democracy is what we're here to talk about. Let me tell you who I am, plain and simple, so you know whose word you're weighing. I'm a combat veteran. I'm a Kentucky public school teacher. I've stood in front of your kids in a county classroom. I'm a father. I'm a papaw. I'm a husband, and I took an oath to the Constitution of the United States more than once in my life, and nobody ever read me the part where that oath expires. I'm running as a person dedicated to the rule of just ethical law, the law that doesn't bend for whoever wants to bend it. I think that's how we all live here in this county. You know, we don't want laws that can be bent for whoever can afford to bend the laws. And I believe the way I believe that the sun comes up in the morning and it goes down in the evening, I believe in a sentence someone wrote down almost 250 years ago that all people are created equal and that they have rights no one handed to them and no one gets to take away: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, hold those two things in your head. All people are created equal and just ethical law. There's a machine I want to show you that is built to violate both of these principles. And then I'll show you what one honest magistrate seat in Hardin County actually has to do with it. Part one, the machine. Picture a vending machine. Coin in the slot, product in the tray. Reliable, mechanical, except the product isn't a soda. It's a tax break, a loophole, a bill that quietly dies. That's what a lot of folks feel their government has turned into. Coin in, policy out, and they're not imagining it. Let me wake the numbers up for you. The 2024 federal election was the most expensive in history. Around 15 billion with a B dollars. Just 100 billionaire families put in about 2.6 billion of it. That's one out of every $6 spent in the whole election. 100 families, 100 families, 1/6 of the money. And that kind of spending is up roughly 160-fold since the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision in 2010 cracked the door open. Now, here's where it gets personal to District 3 in Hardin County. When 100 families up there can put a forklift up to that machine, what do you think isn't, and who do you think isn't getting hurt? The farmer in Colesburg, watching input costs eat him alive. The veteran in Hardin County, still fighting the VA for what he was promised. The mother in Younger's Creek doing everything right and still coming up short at the end of the month. The folks working the Waffle House in Elizabethtown, just down the road from here, open all night, feeding this county, who'd like one elected official to remember they exist. The Metalsa worker, that line worker living here in Tunnel Hill, building real things with their hands. And the teacher in the county buying her own classroom supplies out of a paycheck that hasn't kept up in years. Y'all walk up to that machine with 1/4, one vote, and you watch someone back a forklift up to it. You are both participating in democracy. You are not participating equally. I've seen that with my own eyes, and it makes me angry. The same way a preventable casualty made me angry in the military, because it didn't have to be this way. Part two, the part that should worry you the most. Here's the darker half. The same money that buys the laws on the way in, when it's being written, buys protection from the law on the way out, when it's being enforced. We have watched in plain daylight the wealthy and connected get a softer version of justice than you and I would ever get. The Epstein case became the symbol of it. Not because of the lurid hairlines that your phone wants to feed you, and they are lurid, but because of the boring, documented fact underneath. For years, enough money and enough connections bought a man a different relationship with the law than the rest of us live under. And same for his friends. And even now, after the House of Representatives voted 427-1 to enforce those files into the open, getting the truth out has been like pulling teeth without any Novocaine. Late, redacted. We just found 1 million more documents. Read that vote again, though. 427-1. You cannot get that chamber to agree that the sky is blue. And they both agreed on this. And that still wasn't enough to make it easy. So, what is it that we have got to do if we want it to be enforced? Because again, we're talking about coin-operated democracy. We know that what I'm talking about, I'm not selling you a conspiracy. I'm pointing out a principle, and the principle is the danger. Two-tiered justice. One tier for the forklift, one for the quarter. And it's that quarter that you and I hold. We don't walk up there, right up there with a forklift full to drop in the slot. Now, I took an oath against exactly that. Equal justice under the law isn't a decoration carved over a courthouse door. It's the law. It's the whole deal. And when people stop believing that the deal is real, they don't all rise up. Most of them just quietly give up. They stop voting. They stop showing up. And a county full of people who's given up is the easiest county in the world to ignore. That's the real enemy, not a villain in a back room. Your own justified exhaustion. Because that exhaustion is camouflage for the people running the machine. Which brings us to part three. We give a quick shout out here to all of y'all who have tuned in. Thank you for tuning in. Better weather. Good afternoon. Arbiter class, best of luck with your magistrate run. Thank you. Tom Armstrong. Tom, what you saying tonight? So Tom is saying that the rich have the best government that money can buy, and the rest of us get shafted like an old Jerry Reed song title. That's right. And Tom also said, she got the gold mine, I got the shaft. And that was a great song by Jerry Reed. You are absolutely correct. So, y'all, let's look a little bit at some of this hidden in plain sight stuff that we're talking about.
In Maxwell's crimes or the government. There's a bombshell in the New York Times Epstein files reporting that could derail Todd Blanche's confirmation as Donald Trump's next attorney general. In July of 2025, Blanche moved to unseal Epstein and Maxwell grand jury records. After reviewing the materials, Judge Engelmeyer said, "There's no there there." He said the entire premise that the grand jury materials would bring to light meaningful new information about Epstein and Maxwell's crimes or the government's investigation into them is demonstrably false. The judge was right about the deception. The Times reported why Blanche proposed moving to release the grand jury.
So the judge knows that this deception is a bunch of BS. And again, this is that camouflage that we're all just exhausted over.
Materials. As they were almost certain to contain no significant new information, everyone agreed this option was a good idea, not only because a release was unlikely to damage the president. Judge Engelmeyer said Blanche's motion was aimed not at transparency, but at diversion, not at full disclosure, but at the illusion of such. The judge was right about the illusion. The Times reported Blanche's suggestion would make it appear that the White House wanted the materials released, when it was almost certain not to happen. Trump had no interest in releasing anything.
He hasn't had interest in releasing anything since this law was passed. But he only signed off on it because he knew that would be a sign of guilt. What have they done since then? Obstruct, delay, obfuscate, and get rid of Congressman Thomas Massie right here in this state because of exactly that bill that he co-sponsored with Ro Khanna. And we know that.
And the judge was right about the diversion. The Times reported if the courts refused to unseal them, as Blanche predicted, they could shift the blame for withholding the Epstein material away from the Trump administration and onto the judges. And all the better if the judges had been appointed by Democratic presidents. Deceiving the court that the grand jury materials were significant when they weren't, appearing like they wanted materials released when they didn't, diverting the blame from Trump to scapegoat the judges. Blanche should be questioned about all of that at his confirmation hearing. If he denies it, which is likely, Congress and the courts should investigate. The sources.
We cannot allow him this diversion, this camouflage, this exhaustion. We've got to gird up our loins and push back. That's it. But again, that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So another complete bombshell that we're seeing now is this one here. It turns out our vice president is implicated in this Epstein scandal.
Epstein and J.D. Vance, the vice president, that hasn't been in the spotlight before. Can you explain what that news is?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is pretty bombshell reporting. The New York Times has obviously put out a pretty significant report. We also hear there's more to come. about JD Vance actually now being centered in this Epstein scandal and cover up. We had no idea that Vance had really been involved in the past. He's made some comments, but now we learned that JD Vance is basically hosting and leading meetings in the Situation Room.
In the Situation Room, y'all. This is the room that we think of when it comes to leading the raid that killed one of the world's most notorious terrorists back when President Obama was in there. Situation Room. Now it's been turned into the scandal obfuscation room.
About the Epstein investigation. Now, the Situation Room is used for national security, for issues of war and peace, for major issues around the country. And JD Vance, Susie Wiles, Kash Patel, Todd Blanche are having these meetings about Epstein in the actual Situation Room. And it's clear from this reporting that they're talking about ways of protecting Donald Trump. So
that's all it was about. So now we know our own vice president, who tries to claim to be a fellow hillbilly, and I object, he is one of the ones that ran this cover up from the Situation Room, y'all, from the Situation Room. So let's get back to our discussion then now that we see how pressing and urgent this is. So the real enemy is our exhaustion, as we said earlier. So part 3, Doc, what's a magistrate got to do with billionaires? So that's a fair question. Let me answer it honestly, because honesty is the entire point of this campaign of mine. A magistrate in the Hardin County Fiscal Court is not going to repeal Citizens United, no matter how much I hate and despise it. I'm not going to stand here and lie to you and say I will. What a magistrate does is sit on the fiscal court, and the fiscal court is the county government. It's the body that decides your roads, your emergency medical services, that ambulance that you want to come on time, and your infrastructure. Which road gets paved this year and which one waits another 5 years? How fast an ambulance gets out to a holler in Colesburg, Youngers Creek when someone's chest gets tight? Where's the county's money and the county's crews actually go? So we need to know where they go, and that's what the fiscal court does. Now, this is not abstract. This is the most concrete government there is. The forklift and the quarter problem I just spent 20 minutes on, it has a local version, and it runs on exactly these things: roads, EMS, infrastructure, and contracts. The paving job that goes to the bidder who knows somebody. The road that gets fixed in the part of the district where the money lives, while the gravel road stays gravel. The ambulance bay that's well funded on one side of the line and stretched thin on the other. And here's the thing nobody says out loud. The machine I just described is a national disease, but it has a local immune system. And that immune system is you, at the level where you can still look your representative right in the eye. The same rot, money talks, the connected get the soft treatment, the ordinary get the runaround, shows up small and local too. The meeting scheduled when working people can't come. The budget written where nobody's looking. I can't fix Washington from a fiscal court seat, but I can promise you that in District 3, the forklift doesn't get a special lane. Not on the road, not on EMS, not on a single dollar of infrastructure. Not while I'm holding the oath. What does that actually mean? It means transparency first and foremost. Plain language budgets posted before the vote, not after. When the county spends on a road contract or an EMS line item, you get to see whose hands it passes through. The Epstein fight and your county budget are the same fight in different clothes. Show the people the documents. Meetings working people can actually attend. A Waffle House cook on overnight and Metalsa worker on shift can't make a Tuesday early afternoon morning meeting. Access that only works for people with flexible schedules isn't access. It's a velvet rope. Show up where the quiet money moves. The forklift backs up in the elections and meetings nobody's watching. The local ones. Mine is one of them. That's exactly why it matters who sits in the seat. Treat every constituent like a casualty I'm responsible for. I mean that. The farmer, the vet, the mother on Youngers Creek, the teacher, when you come to me, I'm not checking your party, affiliation, or your bank balance any more than I checked a wounded Marines on the battlefield. You're a human being in my district who needs something. That is the whole of it. Part 4. Let me be honest about the limits. This is serious. I'd be running my own little coin-operated machine, outrage in, votes out, if I just made you mad and asked for your ballot. So let me tell you the honest limits. One magistrate is one vote on the fiscal court, one of 9, and it takes 5 to pass an ordinance. I can't promise you outcomes I don't control alone. What I can promise is a vote you can predict, a reason you can hear out loud every single time, and a man who will tell you no and here's why to your face instead of yes behind your back, and who will spend that one vote every time making sure the road and the ambulance reach your end of the district too. And I'll tell you something else, because a teacher who only tells you what you want to hear isn't teaching. And I'm also a teacher, as I said earlier. The system's rigged can curdle into so nothing matters. Why bother? And that's a lie that serves the powerful, not you. The whole reason I'm standing here is that local government is the one level where one stubborn, honest person still moves the needle. Don't let anybody, including a frustrated version of yourself, talk you out of that one place your vote is worth the most. This place, this seat, this district. Now, this district means the world to me, because for generations, as I said, my ancestors came to the Cumberland Gap with Daniel Boone. And we are here to stay. We have shed blood for this state and nation. And we are here to stay. We're not running away. So, what is it that we need to do? Here's what I'm asking you. And that's the whole of it. There's a machine that's been taught some people matter more than others. I have spent my life in a Navy uniform, in Kentucky classrooms, at my own kitchen table as a husband and a father and a papaw, believing the exact opposite. I believe that all people are created equal. I know that the law has to be just and ethical, or it isn't really law. That you don't check a person's worth before you help them. I can't fix the whole machine from a magistrate's seat in District 3, but I can make sure that in this corner of Hardin County, the forklift doesn't get its own lane, and the farmer in Colesburg, the veteran, the mother on Youngers Creek, the Waffle House crew in E-Town, the Metalsa workers living in Tunnel Hill and anywhere else in District 3 and Hardin County, and the teacher in the county all get the same honest hearing the billionaire would. That's the oath. I already took it once and more than once in a uniform. I'd be honored to take it for you again. I'm Spencer Keck, your neighbor, your doc, and I'm asking for your vote for Magistrate, District 3, Hardin County. Find me at 270-872-3732. You can also find me on Facebook, YouTube. I've got an election campaign website you can find me on. Just look up Spencer Keck for Magistrate. Come ask me hard questions. I'll be the one who answers them. Now, bless y'all. God bless Hardin County. Remember everyone deployed. And bless your corazón, which is Spanish for bless your heart. We all need it. Doc out.
Beans shipped across the country in a refrigerated truck. And third, they take all and cook them modern bush beans.
Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
He grew them because when the bank foreclosed on farms across the